Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is a Heel Heat Top 10. The subject of this is 10 ways to improve TNA. Now the reason I'm doing this is I was getting to thinking there's a lot of negativity going around about TNA. How long will it be open? Is it dying? Are they hemorrhaging money? Will Dixie sell to Vince? But I wanted to put a positive spin on it. Here's the top 10 things that I think they could do to improve their product and make it better for the fans and their pockets. First off, number 10, the announcing. The team of Taz and Mike TNA has gotten stale. They're at a point where they're almost annoying. A lot of times they are annoying. They do cross over that point. If you really think about the history of TNA, and no disrespect to Mike TNA, he's a serviceable announcer, but he's not in that top level, top tier. They've never had that moment where the announcing has made it better. And if you really think about it, like it's such a subtle thing that you can do. If you think about through the history of wrestling, the Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair feud enhanced by Gordon Soley's announcing. Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant enhanced by Gorilla Monsoon on commentary. You know, Mankind versus Undertaker Hell in a Cell enhanced by Jim Ross and how he responded. There is not really anything you could think of that either of these two did in TNA that you could remember that as a memorable call. So I think if they got a little bit better announcing, specifically, and I hate to say it because he's not horrible, if Mike TNA was to be replaced with someone on the level of a Jim Ross, or, yeah, I know it's a big level to go after, but someone of that nature, someone better, more enthusiasm into the product, I think you would notice more, and it would draw you in more and make you care more about stuff that's happening than you already do. Now our number 9 thing that they could do would be better long-time story planning. In other words, we've seen recently where they've had stuff, the Joseph Park character, the Aces and Eights, where they lost steam and it looked like they had no idea where they were going with a certain angle. The thing that they need to do from here on out, being as they only have 4 pay-per-views, they could book it to the next pay-per-view, or they could do what wrestling's done for years and years and years, and that's say, Bound for Glory is our big show. We want the main event to be Wrestler A versus Wrestler B. How do we get there from here a year ahead of time? The better they think out their long-term stories and long-term booking, the more coherent the storylines are, and the more it keeps the fans interested. Now, that's not saying that you change the booking on the fly when something doesn't work. That's just saying have a plan in action and ready to go and have it fully thought out. So we don't get into those areas like, when is the Joseph Park character going to pay off? What is up with Aces and Eights? They get to areas where they kind of paint themselves in a corner and they just have to kind of book their way out. Now our number 8 thing that they could do kind of ties into what I was saying with the Aces and Eights. Stop signing WWE cast-offs. Now, I'm not saying all of them are a bad idea. There are some guys that, when they leave WWE, they're good pieces to the puzzle, but they bring them in guys like Christian Cage, Kurt Angle, and not knocking either of the talents. Guys like Doc, that they brought in and they've pushed them as being better than what they have there already. And it really alienates your product. See, back in the old WCW, WWE days, you had talent jump back and forth, but usually, 90% of the time, Chris Jericho didn't come into WWE as a top guy. He came in fighting with the top guy, but immediately he went down the card. When a guy would jump from WWE to WCW, he didn't come in as a top guy. He came in challenging the top guys, but not the top guy. You always had WCW had Sting and Flair and others, where WWE had their guys, whether it be Hart or Austin. And that's the thing. You should bring, I mean, you can bring in guys, but not at the expense of guys you already have. And I think that's where they kind of miss the boat. They always bring in a guy saying he's going to be the next best thing. Short of getting one of four guys, CM Punk, Randy Orton, John Cena, and Daniel Bryan, there's no WWE cast-off that's going to change the ratings in TNA by himself short of those four guys. And I don't see any of the four coming soon. So they need to back off on signing all the WWE cast-offs, stop looking like WWE's reject pile. Now our number 7 thing, better music. This is something I talked about with a friend of mine, Michael Rose, aka Captain Hook, who, by the way, has an awesome album out. You need to check it out. Go to his website, hook74.com. You can purchase it there. You can purchase it on iTunes. It's called Souls in the Headlights, and this is what made me think of this. A lot of the guys in TNA have very nondescript music. There's very few. I know Bobby Roode's when he comes out. I know Bad Influences. I know the Aces and Eights, AJ Styles. But there's sometimes when the music hits and it's for a big guy, a star in the company, that I don't know who it is till either Christy Hemme says his name or you see him come through the curtain. And a lot of it's really generic sounding. Even if you think about it, Aces and Eights and AJ Styles, their music, up until, they started mixing AJ's old and new thing, sounds very similar. They need to have more different things, better fits with their character. James Storm is a perfect example. His music fits his character perfectly. Bobby Roode's a good example. His music fits his character. Some other guys, I couldn't tell you what Magnus's music sounds like, or Chris Sabin. And these guys are major players in the company. So better music production, getting more a sound that syncs up with the wrestler coming out. It's a little thing, but I think it would add a lot to the production value and a lot to the interest, make a guy more recognizable. Now, coming in at number 6, the Knockouts division. There was a time a few years back when the Knockouts division had all the best women wrestlers in the world, bar none. It beat out WWE, it beat out Ring of Honor, Shimmer even. Any promotion you could think of, TNA was the place to go for knockouts. And it could be the place to go still. Right now they're very thin in the division. Bring in some more of the knockout talent. It works on a couple different levels. First, it gives you something that you could say is different than WWE. We push our women wrestlers as serious wrestlers. Also, it gives you that feel like, it's more of a everybody's included thing. I mean, who didn't like the match with Taryn Terrell and Gail Kim earlier this year? Who didn't like ODB or doesn't like ODB or Awesome Kong or some of the girls that used to be there like Taylor Wilde or Sarita or Angelina Love? I mean, these are all people that were stars in your company and they were all knockouts. It's something you can do to set yourself apart from the WWE and show the wrestling world, great women's wrestling, something that can bring them there to your show instead of watching other shows. Now our number 5 thing is, stop with all the factions. You're not going to recreate the NWO. Every other month there's a new faction in TNA that's looking to take down TNA, whether from the inside, the outside, whatever. Aces and Eights comes to mind. Main Event Mafia, the original version, the new version's good, but the original version, then you had the face factions, the new Main Event Mafia, the front line. Factions work best, other than the NWO, when it's a couple guys working on one singular cause, something like Bad Influence, maybe going for the world title, something like the Four Horsemen back in the day, trying to get all the titles, D-Generation X trying to, you know, take over the show. Not take over the show, but kind of trying to be as X-rated as they can, so to say. But TNA has a love for factions, and they have since their very beginning. They need to dial it back a bit. It's not all about the factions. You're not going to recreate the NWO. That was lightning in a bottle. It happened once. It's not going to happen again. You have good, solid factions like a group like Ego. Focus on them if you want to do a faction. Leave the rest. Leave the takeover factions alone. I mean, we've had it with Jeff Jarrett had his own faction, the Kings of the Mountain, or whatever they called them. The Main Event Mafia tried to take over. Immortal tried to take over. You know, we got the Aces and Eights, even back to the beginning, Sports Entertainment Extreme. I mean, enough with it. We're done with that. That storyline's been done to death. No reason to keep bringing it through. Now, our number 4 thing that TNA could do to improve the product: stop with the rapid-fire heel-face turns. 2 guys I'm specifically speaking about, and one is rumored to have re-signed with the company but hasn't been back as of yet, is Mr. Anderson and Magnus. Anderson, at one point last year before he joined Aces and Eights, turned back and forth so much that even me watching TNA every week had a hard time thinking of, is he face or is he heel, because he was going back and forth. And Magnus, in the past about 2 years, has went heel face as well. If you make somebody a heel or make somebody a face, and this kind of goes back to our number 9, the long-term story planning. If you make somebody a face or heel, plan out that they're going to be a face or a heel for a year or more. You know, I know there's times when it fails. You know, you turn somebody face, they flop miserably. You could pull the abort button on that. That's okay. But stop with going back and forth. You know, just because it fits in this feud, we're going to make this guy a face this week. Then next month, when he has to challenge this other guy, he's a heel. Enough of that. It's hard for fans to follow, especially casual fans. Leave the faces faces, leave the heels heels. When they turn, leave them that way for a while, so when they turn back, if they ever do, it's more of a payoff. Speaking of payoffs, our number 3 is going to be raid the Indies. It seems like a simple thing and it seems like a no-brainer, but right now, all the indie talent, all the top indie talent is heading to the WWE. That's something that TNA could do. They had an easy in when they had Joey Ryan and Adam Pearce both potentially under contract. They could have picked up some of the great talent that's out on the West Coast, guys like Willie Mack, guys like the 2 guys I just mentioned, the Young Bucks, could have came back. I mean, there's a lot of great talent there. Plus, you got other guys all around the country. Guys like Drake Younger, guys like Joey Gargano. I mean, there's great independent wrestlers out there to be had and to bring in to build your company with. That's the next generation of our talent. Stop letting WWE beat you to them. You know, guys like Dean Ambrose could have easily been a TNA wrestler. Chris Hero easily could have been a TNA wrestler. Claudio Castagnoli. These are all guys that could have been picked up by TNA and helped to sway the bar in their direction. I mean, if you think about it, if the next time you turned into TNA, you seen someone like Adam Cole or Kevin Steen, Drake Younger, somebody on there that piqued your interest, it would make you keep turning in. A guy like, and I know I said WWE cast-offs, but a guy like Cliff Compton coming in, he's not going to come in as a main guy, but he's going to come in and he's going to add excitement to your show because of the experience that he has on the indies. Guys like that, you bring them in, you help build them. A lot of the wrestling fans, majority of them don't know who they are. Majority of wrestling fans don't follow independent wrestling. So you bring in a guy, even a guy like Kevin Steen, majority of the wrestling fans don't know who he is. He comes on to your show, you could build him as a homegrown guy, and you can build stories around him, and he doesn't feel like somebody from the WWE trash heap. Now, our number 2 thing is something that they say that they're going to do. Wrestling. Let's get back to the time where TNA is a show you go to for wrestling. Stop trying to be WWE light. Stop trying to have the storylines much like the WWE, the Dixie Carter storyline, the Aces Nate storyline. I'd much rather see on a 2-hour show an hour and 40 minutes of wrestling and 20 minutes of other segments than an hour and a half or an hour and 20 minutes of wrestling and 40 minutes of other segments. The more wrestling you put on the show, the more people are going to watch. Especially if you focus on stuff like the knockout division, like I mentioned earlier, the X division, which is something that you have that is totally different than what the WWE is doing right now. That's going to bring you your own fan base. That's going to convert WWE fans to TNA fans. Just bring it back to where the show's about wrestling. Let WWE be sports entertainment. You be professional wrestling. Go for a different market altogether. Now, if you've seen our top 10s, you know that every time we do this, before we get to number 1, we have the best of the rest. And this is no exception. This is the best of the rest, things that they could do that just barely missed the list. The first, merchandise. A lot of the merchandise, again, like the music, is very derivative and very similar. An easy fix would be to hire several different artists with different styles to produce the products for everybody. Jeff Hardy's someone, I believe he works a lot on his own product, and it's instantly recognizable when you see a Jeff Hardy shirt, whereas a James Storm shirt, an Aces Nate shirt, an AJ Styles shirt, a Magnus shirt, all somewhat have a similar look to them. Have different looks, have different things that people could buy, with different styles. Have a guy that's classically trained as a painter, have a graffiti artist, different things you could do. Make it so when, again, it goes back to what I said with the music. When I see Magnus, and I see Magnus's t-shirt, I know that's Magnus's t-shirt without reading the words. I know that's Magnus's music when I hear it. Give us something that individualizes it. Another thing, do away with the evil authority figure. It's been done to death. It's been done ever since Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and no one has topped Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin since they did it one of the original times when Vince was the evil authority figure. Yeah, you could have authority figures, GMs, presidents, whatever you want to call it. They don't need to be the evil, undermining the faces guy. They could just be the guy that comes out for the contract signings or that sets up the main events. For a lot of years, the NWA was very successful in WCW and the WWE, and you very rarely seen their authority figure. Think of someone like President Jack Tunney. No one ever seen him. Think of the WCW. You barely ever seen who their authority figure was up until the Eric Bischoff point. But it's just another thing that fans are tired of. It's a thing, much like I said with the factions, that's run its course. You're never going to be as good as the original. Stop trying to copy it. Speaking of originals, another thing they could do, bring back some of the guys that are considered TNA originals. Guys like Jeff Jarrett, guys like Jay Lethal, Shark Boy, all these wrestlers that the fans had a real connection with that you've allowed to go other places now and be successful on the indie scene. Bring some of them guys back into the product. Bring some of your older fans back. Let a guy that was a fan of Shark Boy or a fan of Alex Shelley, a fan of Jay Lethal or Homicide, give them a reason to turn back in. These guys, I'm sure a lot of them can be had to come back. Another thing they could do, this is the last of our best of the rest. Better ideas with your cross-promotion. Everybody agrees at this point the cross-promotion with Bellator failed miserably. The Direct Auto Insurance is such a minor company that them being affiliated with that really doesn't help TNA at all, and I doubt it helps Direct Auto Insurance either. Have better cross promotion. Think of the things that WWE's done. Think of all the times they've been on Regis and Kathy Lee, or Regis and whatever, or what Kathy Lee, or whatever the show is now. I'm dating myself a bit, I understand. Think of the stuff they did with Slim Jim and Macho Man Randy Savage. Think of the stuff that WCW did, spreading out. You know, think stuff like this. You can get the wrestlers into a national product, get them to where it cross promotes your product and the national product. Now, coming off of this, before we get into number one, as we always say, if you like what we did with our list, if you don't like what we did with our list, if you think we have something up too high, something down too low, something we left off altogether, let us know what you think. Hit us up right in the comments right down there. Now, our number one thing that TNA could do to improve their push the homegrown guys. I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face. It relates back to our number 8, stop signing the WWE cast-offs. The guys that they have that are homegrown talent or could be considered homegrown talent are some of the best wrestlers in the world. Guys like James Storm, guys like AJ Styles, guys like Bobby Roode, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, Chris Sabin, Manic. You know, you got a ton of guys that are just chomping at the bit to be that guy. Push them to be that guy. Let them run with the ball. Again, it's going to give your product a distinction from WWE. If you turn on TNA TV and you see Kurt Angle, even all these years later, you think Kurt Angle from WWE, Sting from WCW, Bully Ray from the Dudley Boys. You don't think TNA guy. You see AJ Styles, you think TNA guy. You see Bobby Roode, you think TNA guy. Push these guys to the moon, almost at the expense of the other guys you're bringing in. It's something that a lot of people have complained about in the past that Vince McMahon does when he brings in talent outside of the WWE that's established themselves somewhere else. He makes it a point that the WWE talent gets over on that talent. So the WWE talent is always the better talent. TNA should do the same thing. You should be using guys like Kurt Angle, Bully Ray. They should be being used to build your homegrown talent into bigger stars. Bobby Roode could absolutely be one of the biggest wrestlers in the world if he's booked properly. There is nothing at all that man is missing. Magnus, same way. Samoa Joe, Austin Aries. All these guys could be the biggest thing in wrestling, or one of the biggest things in wrestling if booked properly. But basically, that's all I have to say about that. This has been our Heel Heat top 10 things TNA could do to improve. My name is George Coles, and this is it.